Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Why working with invasive document management systems can damage your company.
Just to first introduce myself, my name is James Cook and I have worked for Newforma now for around 18 months, and that has been in my role as a business solutions consultant. Just to give you a bit of background on myself, actually prior to joining Newforma, I actually worked in the AEC industry for around 12 years, and that has been in the capacity of document and information management. Actually prior to my experience in those roles, that's transitioned nicely into my role at Newforma in helping companies to harness and take control of their day-to-day project information challenges.
Thank you, James. I'm Andy Weston, Senior Account Manager at Newforma. I've been with Newforma now for just over 5 years. I'm responsible for the majority of the UK and Irish customer base, ranging from all of our architectural customers to also our engineers and contracting customers as well. So today we're just going to go through the agenda quickly now. So we're going to start by summarizing the challenges with traditional or maybe old-fashioned document management solutions and some of the risks that they present. We'll then take a look at the alternative approach and demonstrate how Newforma Project Center offers a more dynamic and flexible method of working. And then I'll sum up and we'll show how easy it is to move away from potentially that existing system you might be using at the moment, and just take a look at migrating all of your key information directly into Newforma. So, invasive document management. Traditional electronic document management systems, or EDMS, impose their requirements onto the way that your business needs to work, which means moving all of your project data into their system or ingesting it into their system and adjusting the well-established way that you work already to suit their needs as opposed to them adapting to suit your needs. A traditional document management system is invasive because it's relatively inflexible and forces you to work in that prescriptive way, which of course we know projects by their nature are not going to work in that way, and rarely do. And they need the room to be able to actually operate dynamically and grow, as is the nature of design. An EDMS is only aware of the information within it or within its database. Therefore, to be truly useful, every single piece of project information needs to reside within that database or vault. Any information that's not within it cannot be seen by it, and it's ignorant of that. However, there are processes, as we know, and documents that won't fit into that prescriptive mold of an EDMS, resulting in them being managed elsewhere. So this is where we can see the risk of siloed information. And this information, of course, the EDMS is totally unaware of, and you're gaining no value from that information as it's not within that system. From the files that do get locked into the EDMS, additional manual effort is required to manage them within the system, whether that be tagging with metadata or working with it in a prescriptive workflow, something like that. And having all your files in an EDMS means that your information and to a degree your projects are at the mercy of that system. You know, the nature of software, you are bound to run into some sort of technical error. You really don't want to see things like that occur at the height of an important project. So what are the consequences of this? From the clients that we've helped migrate to Newforma from a traditional EDMS, we hear the same stories time and time again. Things like even the simplest change to a form or configuration requires the vendor's professional services, which is often costly and time consuming. Some project data is locked away in the database, but there's still obviously a need to manage other files that are on maybe the Windows file server or in another data repository. And again, this is what we're talking about, of the dangers of silos of information being in incomplete management. and users are not engaged really because it's sort of a foreign workflow for them, and they revert to their ways of working outside the EDMS. Now that can be things like saving information locally, working on it there, and then when they're ready at a certain stage of putting it back into the EDMS. This can be quite dangerous with regards to people maybe going on leave or leaving the company and that sort of thing. So obviously it's something that you really don't want your teams doing. And in general, just quite a large one being information not being easily accessible when you're out of the office. Something we see more and more is teams not all getting to work in the same room together. I think potentially that could be something we see even less of. So I think the systems we're using need to allow for that as well. And all of this is just generally going to result in low user engagement and project inefficiencies with the associated costs that brings and the dissatisfaction from teams. So what is the alternative? Newforma Project Center, a whole project information management system. Newforma Project Center project files stay on your file system, over which you retain full control and ownership. You're not going to be giving your information to us to put into our system. You'll be holding it exactly where it is today. So relatively light from an IT perspective. And we're not asking you to push your information into any other third-party database or cloud solution or anything like that. So we layer over the top of your file system. This means that all information is captured and is easily accessible. This applies both in the office and also outside of the office. And it's a flexible configuration that adapts to your business requirements and processes as needed, not the other way around. So again, just to summarize, the alternative with Newforma is it's on top of your existing project information with everything being accessible and adapts to your way of working as opposed to us prescribing the way that we think you should work. So just going to show you a little bit of what some of our customer experience has been with some of our firms already, and this one specifically focusing on the move from a traditional EDMS to Newforma. So Simpson Hoff, a well-known UK-based practice, are one of our long-standing clients, and they were previously using an EDMS system, which couldn't keep up with their demands during one of their most high-profile projects. So we worked closely with Dave Moyes there. We're able to get them up and running with Newforma within just 5 days. And from that point, we've gone on to have a really, really strong partnership with Simpson Hoff, getting some great feedback from them that's really allowed us to shape our product for that UK requirement as well. So how do we go about that migration process? So Simpson Hoff were one of the first to migrate to Newforma, but in recent years we've seen the demand for migration has increased an awful lot with companies like Grimshaw's, AHMM and others leaving an EDMS to join Newforma. So we have 5 simple steps in this process. So just to begin, our technical team will carry out an analysis of your EDMS configuration. We'll then map the data from the system and show how it will look in Newforma. Your Newforma environment will then be configured to suit the above mapping exercise. And if required, a folder structure will be created on your file system to receive the exported EDMS files. Finally, we run our Newforma migration tool to extract the agreed data from your EDMS and write it to the file system and Newforma Project Center. Immediately after this is complete, your teams will begin to interact with their data inside Newforma. Our indexing service will begin crawling across all of the migrated data and files and begin building the search index to ensure all the data is fully discovered. So just to bear in mind, we're going to look at all of your information, so all the information that's been migrated, but then also all of the information that has not been held within that EDMS will also be viewed through Newforma and also fully searchable there as well. So the whole migration and implementation and training process will conclude in a matter of weeks. And there's also very minimal impact on your project teams, as the vast majority of the migration in this whole process actually takes place in the background. So we've got another quote here from one of our customers, EM Technica, who went through that migration process a couple of years ago from an EDMS to Newforma. And as you see, they had a really great experience with that and have been extremely happy Newforma customers ever since, which is, of course, what we want. So I'm going to hand over to James now, who's just going to take you through a little bit of the products and show you some of the key features within there and just some of our main principles as well.
Thank you, Andy. And just before we get into a live demonstration, I just want to focus and harness on a few of the key features of Newforma Project Center. So Newforma firstly, it has a deep and extensive search capability, and that is across all your project information. So there's no separation between fixed and working information. Newforma is going to look at every single bit of data on your file system. Newforma won't only look at the file names, the metadata, also look at the content within the files themselves. So to give you an example, especially around emails, Newforma could search on the email content, but not only on that, it would search actually within the attachments of the email as well. So it can dive deep and go into the attachments and look at the data within those files as well. There's also no limitation on the number of searches you'd instigate through Newforma as well. So you can look across all your project data instantaneously, whereas other systems, you have to filter down the information before you can search across all your project data. Newforma will also give you that visibility across all your project files, and that is without needing to apply additional metadata in order to find that information. Because Newforma's indexing is going to catch that metadata along those accompanying files and the content as well. Newforma has the facility to share files, and that could be individual ad hoc files, or it could be a complete set of deliverables that you wish to send out of the business. And that could be easily retrieved by external parties. Not only do the facility to send out information, through our web collaboration portal, we can also receive information from external parties as well. Now, with everything that happens in Newforma around files in the system, sending out information, Newforma will give you that full and automated audit trail. It'll be around, who information was sent to and when and why, and even to the extent of who has downloaded that information on the external side as well. So if they just choose to access one file as opposed to all the files, Newforma would even give you that audit trail around that information as well. Finally, I just want to touch on our connectors. So with Newforma, we do actually connect into some of the industry's most familiar and most popular applications. So such tools as Office 365, Autodesk Revit, SharePoint, ProjectWise, and other ERP solutions as well, and many more systems on top of that as well. We also have a full understanding that there are actually multiple tools out there that you need and obviously require to help your projects get delivered. So our connector strategy is respond directly to your requirements and helping you and aiding you to work in a more efficient and effective way. Now this takes me to the demonstration. So I'm going to quickly just jump out of the presentation here, and I'm going to go straight into Newforma Project Center. So when I go into my demo environment here, I'm going to open up Newforma quickly in the bottom here. So firstly, with Newforma would automatically show your My Projects list. This is your favorite list that you would see when you open up Newforma. You can easily go to your All Projects tab, select it will show you every single project, and you can select the relevant project you want to pull into your favorites. Projects that are pulled into your favorites, you can actually file emails to those very quickly as well. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the project, and what you will see firstly is you'll see a whole list of tools. So Newforma really gives you a palatable amount of tools to aid you to work in a more aided and structured manner. And these tools are easily digestible and easy to relate to. So, project email would relate to emails, project file to your project files and data, and transmittals would be transmittals going out of your business or incoming as well. I just want to firstly jump into project files. So just to explain how Newforma works with your project information. So here I'm actually indexing my Windows file server, and by indexing I mean that through Newforma we are actually, or we're pointing Newforma at your root project folder, and Newforma is indexing and capturing all the information on that project. So it's looking at the file names, the metadata, and the files and the data within the files themselves. So Newforma is going to crawl through all your project data and it's going to capture that data. So when you instigate a search, Newforma is not going to go initiate a search from the very start, because Newforma has already captured all your information. When you start to run a search or use a search option, Newforma has already captured that data, so it can find that data almost instantaneously. So you're not having to wait for the information to a search to pull through all your data. It's going to do it instantly and effectively. Now, just to show you how Newforma is working with your file system, if I right click on this folder here and go to Explorer Tasks and select in File System, you're going to see that it's going to open up your file system directly through Newforma. So if I add files into the folder, if I rename files, anything that I do within my folder structure, Newforma is going to see that. So Newforma is effectively a looking glass into your file system. You can actually navigate through the folders as you would do in your Windows file system, and also if I went to filter on a document name, I can do that quite easily in here, or I can filter across all my metadata columns here, so I can pull across and filter on any of these options as well. When it comes to searching, we can use this top box at the top here. So if I type in the word concrete, I'm going to run this search over all my project data. So I've typed in concrete and I'm simply going to hit the return key. And what's going to happen now is I'm going to get a list of results generated from that search of concrete. Now, what you can see down here is I've got 865 results of the word concrete, and Newforma automatically firstly categorizes information. So if I go to this drop down here, I can see document types here, or drawing types, emails, etc. So it's firstly going to give you that comprehensive breakdown of that information. If I want to be a bit more granular around my search approach or filter approach, I could say that I want to actually search on just DWG files with the word concrete. So if I go to DWG file here, I can include that in my filtering option, and I can select filter just down the bottom here as well. Now the information has been filtered by DWG files, what I can simply do is then just double click on a DWG file, and that is now going to open. This is going to open in our Newforma viewer. So if I was to right click, I could open that document DWG file in its native format, but as I'm in Newforma, it can default into the Newforma viewer. Obviously in here it's referenced my search result, and what I can do is I can firstly choose this first option, and that's obviously relating to the word concrete, and it's going to firstly zoom me into my search result for the word concrete on the DWG file there. If I click on the next option, it's going to do exactly the same, so I get a similar zoom into that search result. Also, just to briefly touch on some of the options in here, so we do have markup facilities, we can overlay and compare drawings and show the difference between the before and after, we can measure, we can create action items from here, and with DWG specifically, we can actually turn off layers, and we can work with objects, etc. So Newforma has a full rounded capability for your needs regarding that file you're opening through the viewer. If I now close down the viewer, I'm next going to jump onto project email. So if I go to home page, you can see project email here. But obviously, to be able to view emails, I have to firstly file those emails for Newforma to see those emails. So if I go into Outlook very quickly, the first way to file emails is a very simple drag and drop process. So what you'll see down here is I have a Newforma items to file folder, and what I can do is I can file to that project. So if I just quickly drag an email down there now, that's now filed to the Alpine Grove Science 31 project that I was in previously. Also at the top here, you'll see this Newforma add-in. So we have a few features around this. I'm not going to touch on every single feature. I'm just going to show you very briefly that we have a quick file option to simply file emails to the project. And we have an add-in option here. So this option here allows me to open up a dialog box, and I can choose the email the project I want the email to be filed to. I can strip attachments from the email and save it into the folder, as well as filing the email with the attachments. And I can also use some options like this quick file as option, which simply allows me to use some of the tools in Newforma to, like action items and RFIs regarding an email. So I can create an action or pull an RFI from an extranet site and process that internally within Newforma. Now those emails have been filed in Newforma, if I go into project email, now I get a centralized location of seeing all my project emails. So emails are not siloed in individual people's mailboxes. They're actually brought into project context, so they can be viewed by the entire project team. And this really will help for legality issues, and obviously you don't have to FYI emails every time to your colleague or forward emails. This process will centralize everything. The great thing is I can come in here and I can filter. So I can say I want to find emails from Bob, and maybe they've been sent to Howard. I can preview those emails down the bottom here, and I can also double click and open that email as an MSG file, and I could respond and reply if I so choose to as well. Just regarding the search very quickly, if I type in the word concrete, I can actually filter that search by just emails only as well. So in here, again, I'm going to type in the word Bob from contact. And what I can do in here is I can actually click on the first option here, and this is going to highlight a DWG file. So I know that concrete has appeared within the MSG or the message file, and then subsequent to that, it's actually in the DWG file of that email as well. If I click on the second email here, I'll also see concrete highlighted in yellow, and that is in the subject line as well as in the body of the email as well. So as you know, that we deal with multiple amount of emails on a day-to-day basis, and obviously we want to centralize those emails. We see that to be the same case for drawings as well. We want to track our deliverable drawings, and that could be incoming, and also track our internal drawings to be sent outside the business as well. So if I go back to the home page, I'm going to go to document control here. And to give you a brief on document control, so with document control, we are really centralizing all of your project files on the project. So it negates the need for people to go into folders and manually search across numerous dated folders, and maybe might have a latest folder and superseded folders. You would search directly in here. So I can firstly expand here and see that I've got PO1, and click on this option. I can preview it down here. Similarly for PO2, so I can see everything in project context in one location. In here as well, we can actually add as many columns as we desire on the project. So a great example is that we can actually link Revit to document control, so we can pull in Revit parameters. Not only are we going to fulfill the extensive drawing number that has probably been allocated by a contractor that's in document control directly from Revit, we can also pull in the separate parameters to help us aid in filtering. So sometimes using the ISO 19650 drawing name convention, for example, can be quite difficult to actually filter on the relevant components of that number. So we can do that directly in document control. Just to give you an example of the type of extra data we can pull regarding deliverable information. Newforma as well, when you issue from Newforma, we would automate a drawing issue sheet. And we can also, if you were to use tools such as AutoCAD, you can save into a folder, you can process those files into document control as well. So we give you that foolproof internal record of your information. Regarding document control as well, is we can instigate workflows. So if I click on this document here and I go to my change log, you can see previously that Adam Close 31 had actually changed this PO1 revision of the drawing from draft to approved for issue. And now this drawing, or these drawings rather, are ready to issue. So I'm going to do this directly from document control to keep that familiarity between working between document control and sending information. So I'm going to click on these two files here, and if I go to issue selected record documents here, latest revision, what you're going to see next is a transmittal form being generated. So in the transmittal form, you're going to see that I'm able to pull contacts from a centralized database. And with those contacts, I can create distribution groups as well, so that to save me time from selecting individuals. Just like Outlook, I can put an individual's name in, set that name. Similarly for subject line, similar for CC rather. In the subject line, I could probably put some information regarding deliverables. So I know that they're GAs, level 04 and 05. And then I can go in the drop down here and I can say that rather than for information, it might be for your review and comment, and this can be customized. It's going to pull in today's date and it's been sent via Info Exchange. And then just down here in the remarks, I could put in the message, say, Dear Adam, please download the GAs. And in associated files, I could add additional files in here if I choose. And then I can simply just create and transfer. Just before I select that, I just want to touch on some other options as well. Is the fact that we can actually include emails that may have instigated the submission, and we can relate other activities in Newforma. So that first window where I showed you a list of all the tools, we can link tools to one another to give you that foolproof understanding and workflow of exactly what's happened to a document and what has taken place regarding who's been sent to, etc. So all the audit trail is maintained within Newforma. I'm now going to select Create and Transfer, and I'm just going to touch on this second dialog very briefly. So we have our web collaboration portal, which is, we call it Info Exchange, and although this information has just been sent to Adam Close, we can choose that parties on the Info Exchange platform, and that could be Adam's fellow company members, or it could be the entire project team, can actually access these files, although they've just been sent to Adam Close for an email notification. We can also choose that external parties can choose to download partial information, so they don't have to download every single file, they can choose which files to download. And we can also set an expiry date, so we can say as a default, on my system it's set for 14 days, we can change that. We can set reminders for yourself as a user or for external parties, so that 2 days before the expiry date they will get an email prompt. And also we can have a setting that once everybody's downloaded the files, me as a sender, I would be notified that everybody has downloaded that information. So I'm now going to select OK, excuse me, and this is now going to send the information to Adam Close 31, and now I'm going to get a transmittal form cover sheet that is going to show me the information that has been sent. And just to touch on form customization, we can customize forms very easily. It doesn't take us too much time, so this can be customized to your liking as well. So this is the cover sheet here very briefly. Also, alongside of that is an email notification has been sent out to the external user. So if I close down this transmittal form here and go back into Outlook, I should see that I have a notification from Adam Close 31. And as an external member, I can actually choose to sign into our Info Exchange platform. So our Info Exchange platform has no limitation on the amount of external members you invite to the platform. And you can choose to send out to as many people as you wish, and you can send an invitation to Info Exchange to log on and grab information as and when they still fit. And that's obviously within the expiry date of that information. We can choose to download the files, which I'm going to select here. And as an internal member, I can actually click on View Transmittal in Newforma Project Center to go directly into Newforma itself. So these files are going to download as an external user into their local drives in the Downloads folder. If I now go back into Newforma, so I'm going to close down Outlook now, and I'm going to go back into the home page. We firstly would record every single transmittal within the transmittal location, but Info Exchange will give us that overriding audit trail regarding the information. So if I go into Info Exchange now, what you're going to see is, firstly, I'm going to go to my all transfers, and I'm going to go to my latest transfer, which is this one here, GA level 04 and 05. When I click on that, I get a full understanding of exactly what's happened. So it's been created at this date and time. The upload started and completed within this time, so it's quite quick, as you can see there. And it was downloaded by Adam Close 31, which is my own profile, within just under 1.5 minutes there. Now, if I minimize Newforma now, what we've just gone through there is a quick demonstration of exactly how Newforma works with your information. So we covered search, we covered how we would deal with emails and file emails. We looked at how Newforma looks at your project information. We also looked at how we can send information out, and I didn't touch on how to receive information from external parties, and that can be done via Info Exchange. We can also share folders for external parties to add files to those folders. And we also, just to touch on the audit trail, we captured the audit trail between workflows and document control, and also who is downloading information on the external side when the information was sent. Now, to conclude today's presentation that me and Andy have run through today, I just want to touch on this slide here. So Newforma Project Center, it's a non-invasive approach to managing all of your project information, and it's working how you need to work. And really, to find out more, please do get in touch with anyone at Newforma team, including myself. And I'll just leave your details here on screen, so please contact this email address and this phone number. I just want to conclude by thanking you all for attending today, and I really appreciate your time, and so does Andy. Thank you very much.